Well, hello there, FilipiNARS listeners and followers. How are you all doing? Fine, we hope. It is time again for FilipiNARS, so thank you so much for joining us today. And as you all know, FilipiNARS is brought to you by the PNANV, or the Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada, in collaboration with PHLV Radio. So we have a very interesting topic today, and it is all about Asian American studies. So Asian American Studies is an academic field that critically examines the history, issues, sociology, religion, experiences, and culture and policies that is relevant to Asian Americans. And Asian American Studies is crucial for understanding the diverse experience of Asian Americans here. And that is a population that is very large here in our community. So UNLV, or the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, has Asian American Studies in their curriculum. So we have invited two professors from the UNLV Asian American Studies to talk to us about this. So please welcome Dr. Mark Padoongpatt and Dr. Constancio, Constancio Arnaldo, correct? Did I say that right? Well, welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, of course, of course. And so, how about this, audience? We have two scholars in the house. Isn't this awesome? Okay, let's get them introduced. So, first is Dr. Mark Padoongpatt over there. He is an associate professor of Asian American Studies and Interdisciplinary Studies, and the director of the Asian American Studies at UNLV, right? He's currently working on a book project of Asian American placement in Las Vegas. And they are the recipient of a 3-year, $800,000 grant from the Mellon Foundation to support what we call the Neon Pacific Initiative, which aims to expand and enhance and elevate the placemaking and public-facing scholarship activities happening at UNLV, right? So he is also the author of several books, and he has been in several podcasts. You have shared your work in podcasts and also in the TV, like The Migrant Kitchen and Taste the Nation. How awesome is that? Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that was wonderful, Doris. That was wonderful. And I will only say that my directorship at UNLV will end in a couple of months because Dr. Arnaldo will be taking over as director of the program. So I wanted to say that.
You're not going anywhere, are you?
I'm not going anywhere, but it is time for me to take a breather and for new, energetic leadership. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you ready for this?
I hope so.
Okay, so right here is Dr. Constancio Arnaldo, and he is a PhD and an assistant professor, well, not for long, right? At the Department of Interdisciplinary Gender and Ethnic Studies at UNLV, correct? And you received your doctoral degree in anthropology from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, with concentration on Asian American Studies. Mm-hmm. And as a cultural anthropologist, Dr. Arnaldo's research includes popular culture, immigration, race and ethnic identity, masculinity, and sexuality. And in particular, he examines the colonial and post-colonial experiences of diasporic Filipino Americans in sport and in their everyday lives. So welcome, Dr. Arnaldo. You have anything to add to that?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that warm welcome and introduction. I will say that I did receive tenure and promotion, so I guess I am now associate professor, which makes me really happy. Yes. It's a career achievement, and
all right.
Again, I'm happy to be here.
Very good, very good. And you are also an author of a book, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Talk about that later? Okay, mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's get started. So, can you tell us about, and you can tag team on this, sure. On these questions. Tell us about the Asian and Asian American Studies program at UNLV.
Yeah, Constancio.
Yeah, so you touched upon it a little bit in the introduction, mm-hmm. but our program is composed of 2 core faculty. It's Dr. Padoongpatt and I. We do have a wonderful postdoctoral fellow. Her name is Dr. Christina Ong. She's on the 2nd year of her fellowship that came out of the Neon Pacific grant that we'll talk about later. And so we have affiliated faculty, in particular Dr. Tessa Winkleman, who's in the history department, but she's been part of our program and community for I don't know how many years, like 7, 8 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we're focused on not only Asia and the Pacific region, its people and cultures, but also thinking more about the Asian diasporic population and what Asian American studies can offer in terms of the stories and experiences of Asian American and Pacific Islanders. So we're interested in studying and teaching the historical and contemporary experiences of Asian Americans and Asians in America, and what that can tell us about understanding connections between Asia and the U.S.
In the U.S. Okay.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to this, I think one of the things that makes our program unique, well, I think there's 2 things. One is, we are global in focus, right? So we see things that are happening in Las Vegas as more reflections of things that are happening globally, but also that we take Las Vegas seriously as a place. And so a lot of people, we don't treat it as like this plastic fake thing, but it's a real place with real people, and we approach it as, we can learn a lot of lessons from the place that we live, in this space that we live in. And, it's also important to point out that I'm a Thai American, right? So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, in the San Fernando Valley. Dr. Arnaldo is Filipino American, and I think that matters in our program because we try to center the Asian populations that have been typically kind of marginalized in the field of study, in multiple fields of study. So we center Filipino Americans in the Filipino diaspora, and you center them in the narratives and the histories. What can we learn from that population? We try to center Thai Americans and Thai immigrants, and so I think that gives us a unique perspective as scholars and as educators too.
That's good. We have such a diverse population here, and we have a honorable consulate here for Filipino Americans, but I just learned that there are 26 types of people we have actually 26 different honorary consulates here. So I'm not sure how many of those are in the Asian realm, but if you can imagine 26, and that's not even, covering like the whole, but that's a lot for a certain place, correct? Yeah, good. So we're interested about this grant from the Mellon Foundation, which you guys got $800K. That's significant, and it is to benefit or to for the goal of the Neon Pacific Initiative. So can you tell us about that? What is that all about?
Yeah, so the Neon Pacific Initiative, is a project that is funded by the Mellon Foundation for 3 years, and it runs. We started in January 2024, and it runs all the way until December 2026. So the end of next year is 3 years, and the whole goal is, as you mentioned during the opening, to enhance and elevate and expand Asian American studies and the research that we're doing around Las Vegas and Asian Americans, right? So how have Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders shaped Las Vegas? Yeah. And then how has Las Vegas shaped Asian America and Pacific Islander America? And the goal is to try to expand the histories and the narratives of our populations, of our understanding of Las Vegas as a place, right, where Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are typically left out of that story, right? But to also tell a more expansive story of Asian America, where Las Vegas is typically left out of that story, or seen as, again, just a kind of fake place that doesn't have anything important happening. And so that's kind of the larger goal of the grant, but we have a number of different activities, from mentoring program and internships for students to curriculum development, which Constancio plays a heavy role in. So creating classes. So we have 4 classes that we offer for those who are listening at home and are interested in taking classes. Dr. Arnaldo teaches Asian American popular culture, which is a new class, Asian American sporting cultures, and Filipino American experience. And I teach food in Asian America and Asian Americans in Las Vegas. And so those are the classes that we teach. So it's really about just building up the program so that it's relevant to the field and also relevant to the city.
Okay, so you have different focuses, for the grant in itself? Is that
to a
how
degree?
it is?
Yeah. I mean, so because of the grant, I was able to develop a class, a new class this coming fall semester called Asian Americans in Popular Culture. The grant also allows me to bring in guest speakers for my classes. And because the grant is specifically about placemaking, some of my assignments are about how Asian Americans claim place or make space for themselves. So, for example, last semester I taught the Filipino American Experience class, and I was like, students, we're going to Seafood City to understand and to, like, rather than just assume that Seafood City has no meaning for, let's say, for Filipino Americans, I'm saying based on the scholarship that it has profound meanings for
It sure does.
Filipino Americans. And so they went to Seafood City. We kind of did an observation. Students examined, like, what does it mean to have a remittance center? Why do foods appear in Seafood City but not in a place like Vaughn's? And so I think the grant helped facilitate that project.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and I think, it's important to say, and I think Constancio can add to this because we were all part of the meeting, but it's important to say that we as a program and our research, we were already focusing on Las Vegas. We were interested in this place. It's a suburban, it's a, master planned city, metropolitan area.
Right.
It's heavily suburban. We saw it as this is the future of Asian America. There is a spatial, what we describe as a spatial component to the Asian American experience. So not all Asian American experiences obviously are the same. And part of that is because we live in different kinds of places.
Correct.
Right? Some live in cities, some live in Chinatown, some live in suburbs.
Sure.
And so that shapes, I think, Asian American identities and experiences. And we were already interested in that. And the Mellon Foundation reached out to us. And so they sent us an email to say, hey, we're really interested in what you're doing at UNLV. Would you like to have a meeting to talk about a potential funding opportunity? And so that's how
That's awesome.
we got funded. Yeah. So we were already thinking about Las Vegas and these spaces in these ways.
That's awesome. So who attends these classes? Are they like maybe a mixture of races, or are there other people, or are they just purely Asian Americans, or?
Primarily Asian Americans, but we have
okay.
some Latino, African American
I see. Okay.
white students. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit about the activities. So I think you have a lot more, right?
Yes.
Rather than those.
It will take up the whole show if I went down
I know.
that.
I'm interested in that food thing.
Yeah. I mean, I can give, if you'd like, I can give just a quick bullet point of the activities.
Okay, well, go ahead.
So what we got funded for a narrative podcast series. So a podcast series where each episode is sort of a documentary, and it focuses on AAPIs in Las Vegas.
Right.
We have episode, for example, on Historia and Filipino food culture, right? So just as an example, we have one on Chinatown. We have one on Polynesians and Native Hawaiians and football, right? So sports and community.
Very cool.
And so that's one big research activity. We have the courses, the curriculum development, internships, mentoring program, and then we also do workshops and symposiums that are storytelling based. So
nice.
Even it's about placemaking, but it's also about documenting stories from the perspectives of AAPIs in Las Vegas.
Very good. Very good. So how does Las Vegas as a place shape the Asian American Pacific Islanders as an experience with regards to immigration and race, racial violence, sports, that sort of thing?
I mean, that's a great question.
Big question.
Yeah.
That's our question, actually.
Yeah. So, like one of the questions I ask students is like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Like, why are Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in a place like Vegas in the first place, or the U.S. more broadly? And so part of it is labor, right? Like Filipinos are in the hospitality industry. They're in the casinos, waitresses, housekeepers.
Healthcare.
Healthcare,
Healthcare,
right?
Yes, right.
Filipinos are the largest Asian ethnic group in Vegas. And so I think that's part of it. Some folks are just relocating from places like California to Vegas because it's more affordable. But also, like during COVID, there's an episode on another podcast called Exit Spring Mountain that you were a part of. I think you were the consultant. That talked about how Asian Americans were confronting everyday violence because of the
Correct.
racist designation of the China virus, right? And Asian Americans were targeted in Vegas. And so,
I remember that.
yeah. But someone like Pacquiao, right? In my book, I have a chapter on Pacquiao and me attending one of his Bible studies in Mandalay Bay. And Michael Jackson won theater, right? And so, in terms of sports, Filipinos, my research is over 10 years of studying Pacquiao and me coming to Vegas and looking at the kinds of fandom that he creates and why Filipinos from the Philippines, Filipinos in the U.S. are coming to watch him fight. So Vegas is such an interesting place because you have folks that live in Vegas, but you also have folks that come to Vegas who are Asian and or Asian American.
That's pretty interesting tidbit about Manny Pacquiao, because I didn't know that he was into the religious realm. I was trying to get him actually to be interviewed on account. I think he was helping kids in the Philippines to do the computer stuff, but never got to connect with him. So
Yeah.
I'll have to read your book. Okay, so one of the things associated with this study is food, right? And we all know that us Asian Americans want to eat, and food, pretty much kind of defines us. And you have a class on food in Asian America. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
Do you cook there?
I would. I wish I could. It would be a fire hazard, I think, if I cook. I will bring in food for my students, but the class is an upper division course in Asian American Studies, and we focus on the importance of food and the relationship between food and Asian America. So it's not just like an Asian American cooking class.
Yeah,
It
okay.
is using food to think about Asian American histories and experiences, identity, culture, different cultures. And so, we focus on the one aspect is like cultural retention, right? So like food as a way to connect to your culture, right?
yeah.
But we also use food as an entry point to talk about things like labor, immigration. So it opens up these ways for students to explore bigger concepts that they may not have encountered before, right? So like colonialism and imperialism. Some students come in knowing a little bit about that, but when they think about it through food, they can kind of see, oh wow, this was a very deeply ingrained process. And thinking about immigration policies and how foods even get to the United States. So it's a very dynamic class, and every time I teach it, each week we focus on a specific dish from a specific community. And so week 2, right off the bat, we talk about adobo. And they learn, the way the class goes, they learn how to make the dish. Again, I don't cook it, but we watch a video clip of someone making it.
Okay.
So they learn how to make it, and then we learn the history and evolution of adobo, and then use that as a window to talk about, okay, what is this relationship that Filipinos have with their food?
Their food.
And how has their food culture changed, and why has it changed? And then that pretty much ends up being a full 3 hours.
A full 3
hours.
Oh my God,
where,
you can talk all day.
Yep.
Yeah. How about Thai food? Because I know you love Thai food.
Oh yeah,
right?
that is
Yeah,
week
yeah.
11. To be,
Not there yet?
and we
Okay.
use so the dish there is pad thai.
Yes.
Right, so we talk about pad
My
thai.
favorite.
Yes, as a popular dish that
Yes.
most, if not all, my students and everyone has had. And then we use that, again, as a way to talk about the Thai community. And so in this case, we use it to talk about restaurant culture, labor, and the food, or the hands that are making the dishes behind in the back of the kitchen.
Right,
and so,
right.
So these are the ways that I think about food. Yeah.
So knowing the history and background of food, the food you eat is important. So there's one Filipino organization, Historia, who basically, I think you mentioned them, and they go through that. You know, what's the origin of this? What's the origin? I was able to go to one of their little banquets where they had 6 chefs, and each one explained their dish, you know, and that was awesome. Do you work with them by any chance?
Heavily.
So
I think
yeah. I mean, I met. So
Cool.
before Historia actually took off, I met with the CEO and founder, Walbert Castillo.
Yeah.
We have mutual connections because I was a grad student in Illinois. I was his friend's TA, and so he reached out to me in the beginning before Historia took off. Like, hey, I'm doing this concept of pre-colonial Filipino food, and I was like, that is fascinating. You know, if you look at Filipino restaurants, it's Jollibee, it's maybe Max's, there's Manila Barbecue, but the concept of pre-colonial Filipino food was really interesting. And what I appreciate about Historia is that they are telling a story.
Yes.
And so if we think about storytelling as a way to think about the human condition, what's missing in the story about Filipino food? And in many ways, I think they're trying to tell a story about not only pre-colonial Filipino food, but what happened when the Spanish came, what happened when the Americans came. And so their food is delicious.
Yes.
And so I've had Walbert and his, I think Ramon, and a couple of others, team members come to my class to talk
Monica,
about.
I think.
And Monica.
Monica.
And so I've gone to maybe 3, and the food has always been really good.
The food is really good.
So yeah, we work. I mean, I'm a huge supporter of them, and
Very
I want
good.
them to do well. Hopefully, they open up a brick and mortar eventually.
Yeah, we're hoping that as well. But
Yeah.
that's good. I'm glad that you're sort of like in touch with them. So that's good. Now, there's also another organization which I belong to called HFAN, which is the Healthy Filipino American Nayon. Okay, and one of the goals, it's a holistic thing, you know, and we not only focus on exercise, on other things, focusing on the Philippine American mental health and all that, but one of the things that we focus on is nutritious food. So the wellness of Filipino Americans. Anyway, so is this part of the study, like not for the organization in itself, but healthy cooking as part of, you know, either your study, or how would you make it more relevant? Wherein, like, the people today are into like little diets and light stuff. So, do you incorporate that in your programs?
Yeah, I mean, I would, you know, I think we don't directly address the healthy eating component. I think, and we don't, you know, directly address diet or nutrition in terms of like today, like what you can eat to become healthier. I think what's interesting to me about this, though, and I know that you had them on the show, so I was able to kind of listen to the holisticness of their approach.
Right.
And I think what's interesting is that, you know, it's to me as a historian, it's linked to colonialism, and so I'm interested in I think the insight that I can offer and we can offer is I'm interested in how conversations about Filipino American health and nutrition are connected to histories of colonialism, because, you know, when the U.S. colonized the Philippines, they introduced a ton of processed foods and kind of got Filipinos hooked on these processed food, canned goods, highly processed food. And my question is, does that have an impact, and did that have an impact on the Filipino American diet? And I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, you know, for me, it's thinking about food, nutrition, diet in relationship to colonialism, and also at that same time, you know, American, like ordinary Americans really tried to change the Filipino diet. right? They're like, you
True.
snack too much, you eat too much,
Yes.
you eat too many desserts. And so eating healthy is a complicated, I think, question for me.
It certainly is. It certainly
Yeah.
is. And basically what we try to teach is that you don't have to starve yourself, or you don't have to say, I'm not eating that adobo anymore. It's basically
Right,
like
right.
portions. You know, make it at portions, not eat the whole
Yeah.
kawali. Okay, all right. So thank you for that. So, Dr. Arnaldo, your research includes the popular culture, immigration, race, ethnicity, masculinity, and sexuality. That's interesting. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah. So my book, titled Filipino-American Sporting Cultures, The Racial Politics of Play, looks at sports as an important side of analysis. So sports is often seen as like whimsical, like people don't take it seriously as a serious scholarly topic. But I'm arguing that sports is a really important way to understand identity formation.
Filipinos love basketball, right?
Right.
So why is that not
And
popular?
So my question is, again, thinking about colonialism,
Yeah.
is the Americans introduced institutionalized sports in the Philippines. That's why the PBA is the second oldest professional basketball league in the world. And so these are enduring questions about the afterlife of colonialism in the Philippines and how sports was taken up by Filipino Americans. But sports is not, when people think about sports, it's like, okay, it's just about merit. But sports is also exclusionary. At times it can be really homophobic and reproduce racist understandings of, let's say, African Americans. It can be really sexist. And so these are the questions I have and that I write about in my book, and that I'm interested because this is my way of contributing to understanding the long legacy of colonialism in the Philippines is through sports. Sports is also a site of possibility to challenge, let's say, how Asian and Asian American have been viewed as emasculated, or to perhaps challenge how Filipina and Asian American women have been seen as objects and hypersexualized. In one of my chapters, I talk about how they play flag football and how these women are dominant against white women. And so I hold in tension the contradictions of sports as a site of possibility and contradiction that reflects these identity categories like race and class and gender and sexuality. So someone like Pacquiao, for example, he's obviously super masculine, he's muscular, and in that process he's challenging how Asian men have been seen as not masculine enough. But at the same time, his symbolism is also very contradictory because it reproduces particular exclusions based on race and sexuality.
Wow. What do you think about that from a Thai American perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a Thai American perspective, one of the things that one of the many things that I love about Constancio's work and his thinking and his book, and I think his book is a beautiful reflection of this, is we take seriously the things that society and scholars even don't take seriously, right? Because even you mentioned, like, why wouldn't they focus on sport? It's such a huge, because they think it's trivial, right? They see things like food as like, this is not a serious academic topic. Like, where's the policy? Where's the big, what about economic systems? And this is our way to show that those structures and systems come down to everyday life and actually have an impact on people, right? And so I think that's what Constancio does so well, and it is a beautiful reflection of what we want to do and what we're trying to do with the program. And for Thai Americans, I think we have a similar approach. Food became the thing. Food is the thing that stands in for Thai people in the United States. Most people know about Thai people because of Thai food.
Correct.
And so for other scholars in the field to say, well, that's not important. Like, they only know about us because of food. How can you say that that's not important? So I think that's that's my response.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so what's the title of your book?
Filipino-American Sporting Cultures, The Racial Politics of Play. It's with NYU Press.
Okay, and you have a book as well.
Yes.
You have several, actually,
Yeah.
on the food.
My book, which was published in 2017, University of California Press, called Flavors of Empire.
Flavors of them.
Food in the Making of Thai America.
Oh, okay. So, y'all, you can avail yourselves of these books.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah, it's a great starting point.
Course, yeah. So, there is a segment is there a segment in the studies in your grant that talks about healthcare and healthcare professionals in Las Vegas?
There is, as Constancio mentioned, we were trying to build on the episode in Exit Spring Mountain that focused on Filipino healthcare workers. But in my class on Asian Americans in Las Vegas, that's where it's most relevant. I do a whole lecture class session on Filipino healthcare workers, the history of Filipino nurses to the United States, and temporary migration. And so my approach to Filipino nurses is to think about it historically, where are they being trained? Also, the Philippines exporting nurses to the United States. But I also want my students to think about what it means to come here and do care work in the United States, but still be a temporary migrant, right? And you have to think about all these pathways for visas, and you're caring for the survival of so many U.S. citizens and people who live here. And so that's the interesting part for me is how Filipino healthcare workers are such a major part of the United States, of the diaspora, but also of the United States. But they're also caught in this kind of like, we're not fully citizens.
It's true.
We're just imported labor. But that's how I approach it in my classroom. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And I think for me, my mom is a retired nurse. And it wasn't until I took my first ever Asian American Studies class that talked about why there's so many Filipino nurses in the U.S. And I read this wonderful book. It's still relevant today, called Empire of Care by Catherine Sinisa Choi. And so in my classes, I do talk about the labor of care, and that my mom is now a retired nurse, and she provided the care work for hundreds of patients, and that during COVID, Filipino nurses were the highest percentage to die from COVID,
correct,
but constituted the smallest percentage of nurses. And so that was really alarming and disturbing, and made me angry and frustrated, that in many ways they provide this care work for labor, and yet their labor is invisible and easily disposable.
Not recognized.
During
Right, right. There is a movie. Well, it's a movie. It's called Nurse Unseen. Yes. And we're trying to bring that back because I think UNLV had a screening on it, but there wasn't a lot of people. So we're trying to get that back. And it basically, you're correct, because if you go to any hospital or any healthcare facility, you see mostly all Filipinos or Asian Americans, whatever. But they had the highest rate of deaths in COVID. And you know why that is? Because most of these people volunteer to go to or work in the ICUs, in the intensive care units, and that's where they placed all of the front lines of the COVID. So, but they were never really recognized properly, right?
And let me just correct, it was Empire of Care, not Labor of Care.
Empire, yeah. That's
Empire.
By Catherine
Empire.
Sinisa Choi. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that question so much because it hits deep for me.
Yes, yes. And if you look at me, you know, I came here years and years ago, went in Florida. I had $100 in my pocket and my nursing uniforms and a 1-year contract with a hospital.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So there it is. Anyways, okay. So, so far, what kind of stories have you heard from Asian Americans here in your, like anything relevant or anything that really sticks out there?
I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but during COVID, it was affecting Asian American communities, students. Some of my own students were targeted. We share students. Some were just scared. But also, like, I think what's really great about the grant is that there's an event called My Own Story. I think you mentioned it earlier. And it's a way for them to perform in public for the first time the story about what it means to be Asian American. And so you get a diverse cast of folks that tell the story about either moving to Vegas or being born and raised in Vegas, and talk about what it meant for them to live in a place like Vegas, which is the entertainment capital of the world that doesn't necessarily get recognized as a site of Asian America.
True.
So that's been one of the really great things that come out of the ground, among the many others, because you hear stories about their lived experiences.
Yeah, and I think even though the stories are so different, depending on the kind of population and community they come from, you know, one of the things that has also been great to see is students and our colleagues actually thinking about Las Vegas and kind of embracing it as home, or trying to think about it more as, you know, not just like, oh, I hate it here, I want to leave, like this is like a city that's not like it's not even a real place, but they're actually starting to reflect on, hey, wait a minute, I think our experiences here are important as part of the Asian American experience, and they want to explore that.
Yeah,
and I think that matters.
Yeah, that really matters, because every time I have like, not relatives, not even friends that come here, or maybe some acquaintances, and said, so do you go to the casino every day to gamble?
Right.
And I'm like, no, there's actually a life outside of the strip. Right?
Do you avoid the strip pretty much too?
I do.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I do. I don't want to lose my money.
Yeah, work too hard for it.
I do work hard for it. Okay, very good. So for you and your team, what is the most important and significant part of your data gathering?
Yeah, I think it's I can speak to the podcast as one aspect of this that I think has been really important, because, you know, that's where we do a lot of the interviews, and they're not traditionally, like, we're trained to do oral history interviews, and that has a whole set of professional, like, protocol and ethics behind it, and of course, obviously, we're being ethical when we do these interviews for the podcast.
So you have a podcast associated with the grant?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so for that series, we interview and try to interview. So like for the episode on Astoria, you know, we interview Monica and one of our former students who is now working at Astoria, Eva Carino. So we interviewed her and her experiences growing up and her relationship to Filipino food in Las Vegas. And I think that as a form of data collection that is very collaborative, right? Where our interviews are not, they document the experience, but it's also very collaborative in nature.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so I know you said the grant will end on the 2026 at the end of the year. Okay, so are you going to be publishing the results of whatever? And
that's the plan.
That's the plan.
The plan is to have 5 episodes of the podcast.
Okay.
Each of them will be about 45 minutes, and we plan to host them on a multimedia website where you can listen to an episode but also see suggested readings, maybe some archival images.
Very good.
And so that's how we want to make it accessible to everyone.
Accessible to everyone. Well, that's good. That's good. So what is your message to the Asian American community regarding the study and participating in actually telling their stories? Who wants to go first?
I mean, our stories matter.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And for so long, we've been seen as quiet, as this model minority, that we don't make a ruckus. But I think our stories are important to understand, again, the human condition, and that our stories have been rendered invisible to dominant understandings of who Asian Americans are. And so it's important to tell these stories because we're not a monolith. We're heterogeneous, we're diverse, we have different experiences. And a place like Vegas is such a critical site to understand Asian America beyond the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, right? We have a particular experience in Vegas, and I think it's really important for people to understand.
Yeah, and I would just add to that. That was wonderfully said. I think anyone who is interested in kind of Asian American studies, it's not just about Asian Americans, right? So I want people to not just think, oh, it's about that group over there, and even if they like it, they're like, oh, but it's just about them. This is about all of us. And so if you're interested in popular culture, right, this is one way for you to think about popular culture more broadly. If you're interested in urban and suburban design, this is a place for you to go through Asian American experiences to think about, what is this place, Las Vegas, and why is it built the way that it's built? Why does it look the way that it looks? If you're interested in food and how food works, right? So all of these, so it's not just about Asian Americans. And I think the last thing I'll say quickly is we're in a very important moment that we often can't see because we're in it. But Vegas is emerging. It's an emerging place. For sure. So we must and have to document our stories told by Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. This is our opportunity to not have what happened, in the last 150, 200 years, where those stories were written for us, and they were written for us to exclude us, to leave us out of the story. We do not want to be left out of the Las Vegas story. And so it's our job, I think, and it's an exciting thing to document and tell stories about APIs from our perspectives and to leave that legacy behind. And I think that that's really exciting.
That is so wonderful. Well, Dr. Mark Padoongpatt and Dr. Constancio Arnaldo, thank you so much for coming to the podcast today. It's really an honor for us, for you to be here. And you are doing such great work in relation to Asian American studies, and we do appreciate what you do. So we cannot wait for the outcome of your study, I guess. So we have to have you back, right?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yes,
love to.
Yes, good. And we also have to thank the UNLV for having Asian American studies, in their curriculum offerings. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Doris. Thank you so much.
My daughter graduated from UNLV.
And thank you to everyone at home.
Yes. Okay, and to our listeners, we leave you with this. Asian American studies emerged in the late 1960s as a response to the civil rights movement and the call for a more inclusive curriculum in higher education. So the field deepens the understanding of the Asian American history and its relevance to contemporary issues and facing these communities, while also encouraging the solidarity among marginalized groups. Through the study of Asian American experiences, students develop critical thinking, collaboration, public speaking skills, and more importantly, Asian American studies plays a vital role in promoting social justice, fostering inclusivity, and cultivating an appreciation for the rich and diverse narratives within the Asian and Asian American cultures. And ultimately, it helps shape a more informed, emphatic, and socially conscious citizenry. So thank you so much for joining us today. Please be safe and be well. Until next time, this is Doris Bauer, your FilipiNARS host, signing off for now.
Just like a friend from back home. This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.